couple of the unique features of ancient Egyptian Old Kingdom pyramid sites. Features that are clearly indicative for the use of advanced technology in their creation, which today leave us some tantalizing hints as to functionality and purpose.
You have likely seen the viral claim sweeping social media. An AI has finally decoded the secret of the Egyptian pyramids. The headline is explosive, promising that a high-tech analysis of quarry marks proves the ancients possessed industrial machinery hidden from history. It is a narrative that feeds our deepest curiosities and challenges everything we thought we knew about human capability. But is this the breakthrough of the century, or the most sophisticated hoax ever generated? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the digital smoke and mirrors to reveal the truth behind this controversial revelation: the rise of AI-driven historical claims. Imagine scrolling through your social media feed and seeing a thumbnail that stops you dead in your tracks. It is a sleek, high-definition shot of the Aswan granite quarries, bathed in golden hour light, overlaid with glowing, futuristic digital schematics that pulse with intensity. The title is designed to trigger an immediate, visceral reaction, an explosive claim that artificial intelligence has finally solved the greatest mystery of the ancient world. You cannot help but click. Within seconds, a narrator begins to explain, with the measured, absolute confidence of a seasoned documentary host, that xAI's chatbot, Grok, has analyzed the site and definitively proven that the ancient Egyptians were not using simple tools. Instead, the AI claims it has uncovered unmistakable evidence of advanced industrial-grade rotary machinery buried in the stone. It sounds like a revolution, a paradigm-shifting technological breakthrough that promises to dismantle everything we thought we knew about human history. The video lays out a mountain of data that feels incredibly, almost obsessively precise. It tells you that the AI meticulously examined exactly 847 individual cut marks across the massive, weathered quarry walls. It provides a specific surgical measurement, a tool mark spatial variance of only 4.3%. This number is then pitted against a supposed variance of 12 to 22% that would be expected from even the most highly skilled human manual craftsmen. To seal the deal, the narrator notes with breathless excitement that the tool entry angles across the entire quarry varied by less than 2 degrees, yielding a 94% confidence classification on the tool type and a 99th percentile temporal inversion. For the average viewer, who might have only a passing interest in archaeology, these figures feel like the smoking gun of a lost, high-tech civilization that has been hidden in plain sight for millennia. But there is a catastrophic problem with this entire narrative. None of these measurements actually exist. They are not the result of a revolutionary, laser-based archaeological scan, nor are they derived from any legitimate photogrammetric analysis of the site. They are, quite simply, hallucinations, sophisticated fabrications produced by a large language model. When a user prompts an AI to analyze such a complex, contentious topic, the model does not actually go out into the field, set up expensive surveying lasers, or process any raw, real-world data. It simply reaches into its massive training set, which is composed of a vast, turbulent ocean of human-generated text, including unverified social media posts and fringe conspiracy forums. Because the model is programmed to be helpful, engaging, and conversational, it synthesizes these speculative echoes into a highly structured, authoritative-sounding response. It takes the unrefined noise of the internet and packages it neatly as mathematical certainty. This creates a deeply dangerous disconnect in the modern media ecosystem. The public naturally equates high-level computation with objective, unimpeachable truth. If a machine spits out a specific statistical probability, it feels like it must be based on cold, hard, empirical fact. Yet, the reality is that Grok possesses no autonomous capacity to perform photogrammetric scans, nor does it have access to a secure, vetted database of genuine ancient tool signatures. The AI cannot actually see the quarry. It has never experienced the texture of rose granite. However, it has read thousands of forum comments and blog posts from people who fervently believe that ancient tool grooves look like modern machine work. The model takes these subjective misinterpretations, which ignore natural geological joints, surface weathering, and the inevitable, irregular scars left by centuries of manual stone extraction, and elevates them to the status of mechanical precision. The real danger here is the deliberate, calculated weaponization of digital complexity. By presenting these entirely fabricated numbers in a polished, fast-paced, and expertly edited video essay, creators effectively bypass the entire, slow-moving peer review process that keeps history grounded in observable reality. They build a shimmering facade of academic legitimacy, often going so far as to attribute fabricated quotes to renowned real-world researchers like satellite remote sensing pioneer Dr. Sarah Parcak to lend their work an air of unearned credibility. It is a masterclass in modern disinformation. When these videos inevitably reach millions of unsuspecting viewers, the actual truth becomes buried under a massive mountain of generated data that looks, sounds, and feels exactly like progress. This trend does not just challenge our academic understanding of ancient stone cutting. It actively shifts the goalposts of how we define historical fact, replacing messy, evidence-based archaeology with a digital simulation that is designed, first and foremost, to go viral. Conventional archaeological consensus. If you strip away the digital fiction and the claims of phantom machines, you find something far more impressive than a lost high-tech empire. You find the raw, tangible grit of human genius. For decades, the mainstream consensus on ancient Egyptian masonry has been dismissed by conspiracy theorists as boring or insufficient. They look at a massive granite sarcophagus and decide it must have been carved by an ultrasonic drill because the alternative, the hard, slow work of human hands, seems impossible to a modern mind conditioned by instant, automated manufacturing. But that perspective completely misses the reality of what ancient craft was. It was not about high-frequency sound waves. It was about centuries of accumulated guild knowledge, extreme patience, and a mastery of basic physics that we have largely forgotten how to appreciate. The actual story of how those monuments rose from the bedrock starts with the humble dolerite pounder. These heavy stone balls were the primary tools used for the rough extraction of granite. People often argue that these tools are too soft to shape granite, but they ignore basic mineralogy. Dolerite is physically harder and tougher than granite under impact, and the ancient stonemasons knew exactly how to use that to their advantage. They didn't just smash stones at random. They pounded out troughs with rhythmic, calculated strikes, slowly and systematically separating massive blocks from the quarry floor. Once that rough work was finished, the refinement began, and this is where the genius of the copper alloy tool comes in. For over 40 years, mechanical engineer Denis A. Stocks has been the definitive voice in experimental archaeology. He did not just theorize, he reconstructed over 250 replica tools, proving that the Egyptians used flat-edge saws and tubular copper drills with remarkable efficiency. These tools were not meant to cut the stone directly. The copper was just a carrier, a soft metal that held a slurry of wet quartz sand. This process is called three-body abrasion. As the copper tool moved back and forth, the quartz grains, which are just as hard as the granite itself, embedded into the metal and performed the actual grinding. The metal wore down, the stone wore down, and the result was a surface so precise that it could be polished to a mirror finish. This wasn't just a basic Copper Age technique. The metallurgy of the Old Kingdom was incredibly sophisticated. As workers moved from the Naqada period into the peak of the Fourth Dynasty, their copper tools evolved. Archaeologists have found soil core samples from the Giza harbor that show a massive, localized spike in copper and toxic arsenic contamination, directly tracing the history of this intense manufacturing. These were not pure copper tools. The Egyptians were intentionally alloying copper with arsenic to create a work-hardened material that was tougher and more durable. By the Middle Kingdom, they were even using speece, a complex metallurgical byproduct, to precisely control the alloy's properties. These builders were experimental scientists who were refining their tools in real time. When you look at the unfinished obelisk at Aswan, you aren't seeing the failure of a machine. You are seeing the physical archive of an entire culture. You see the scallop-shaped troughs left by the hammerstones and the concentric scoring left by the abrasive slurry on the drill cores. This is the evidence of an incredibly organized workforce. These were not enslaved laborers being forced by a pharaoh. They were professionals, well-fed, medically cared for, and managed through sophisticated logistical networks. Moving a 70-ton architrave was a triumph of state-mobilized transport teams and specialized causeways, not mysterious levitation. The obsession with lost technology is a modern cognitive bias. We see things that were built over decades through persistent, day-in and day-out manual labor, and we assume it must have been done in a flash by a machine. We have replaced the long, disciplined history of a civilization with a fantasy because it is easier to imagine a secret, sudden leap in technology than it is to respect the slow, grinding reality of human endurance. The true miracle of Egypt was not a machine that could cut stone in seconds. It was the ability of a society to sustain that level of focus and skill for generation after generation, the lost technology mythos. There is a powerful and persistent urge to believe that we are not the pinnacle of engineering history. It is a psychological impulse that drives the alternative history movement, creating an elaborate, high-tech mythos to replace the messy, human reality of the past. Thinkers like Christopher Dunn have spent years arguing that the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced machinery, from circular saws to precision lathes. Dunn even claims that the granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid was not a tomb, but a sophisticated mechanical sound cavity designed to vibrate at a perfect A note, theoretically inducing piezoelectric power in the ceiling slabs. It is a captivating idea, transforming a silent stone chamber into a dormant power plant from a lost civilization. But it relies entirely on the assumption that ancient builders were incapable of achieving such architectural harmony through sheer skill and traditional surveying. This narrative is fueled by a profound modern cognitive bias. In our industrialized world, we equate speed and automation with competence. We operate in a landscape of rapid, computerized execution, where anything that takes more than a few days is considered inefficient. When we look at the monumental scale of the pyramids, we instinctively struggle to fathom that they were built by thousands of free, well-nourished, and highly organized professionals. We project our own desire for quick results onto the past, leading us to believe that the only way to move a 70-ton architrave was through some forgotten advanced physics. Yet, we have the logistical evidence that tells a different story. Moving a 750-kilogram core block required a team of 8 workers on a lubricated sledge, and even the most massive stones were moved by state-mobilized teams using causeways and lever and drag mechanics. This was not the work of machines. It was the triumph of human organization and relentless, repetitive labor. The reason these theories gain so much traction is not because they are supported by physical evidence, but because they are highly lucrative. There is a massive, untapped market for the idea that mainstream academia is hiding the truth. By framing history as an academic conspiracy or an orthodoxy cover-up, content creators, authors, and alternative tour operators tap into a deep-seated public distrust. Every time a legitimate research group releases high-resolution photogrammetry or muon scanning data of the pyramids, these alternative groups immediately rebrand the findings as evidence of hidden machine rooms or ancient power grids. This cycle generates millions of dollars through book sales, premium subscription platforms, and high-priced tours that promise to reveal the forbidden secrets of Giza. It is a business model built on the systematic erasure of the historical, archaeological, and metallurgical context that actually explains how these monuments were built. When you look at the Great Pyramid today, you see a monument of immense precision. But that precision was achieved through the mastery of the human hand and the collective intelligence of a guild-based society. To claim it was the result of ultrasonic drills is to ignore the actual physical archive of the worksite. The alternative history movement would have you believe that we are looking at the remnants of a lost industrial empire. But the soil around the Giza Plateau tells the real story. It is saturated with the chemical markers of copper and arsenic from the millions of manual tool sharpening sessions that took place over decades. We are not looking at a high-tech society that suddenly vanished. We are looking at a masterfully organized culture that succeeded because of its patience, its logistics, and its grit. The myth of lost technology is essentially a modern story we tell ourselves to avoid confronting the reality that ancient people were capable of achieving greatness without the help of a computer. The problem of microscopic interpretation. The most convincing evidence for lost technology usually looks like a perfect line under a microscope. It is a stunning visual, a glowing, deep-etched groove on a stone artifact that seems to defy the possibility of manual work. Creators of fringe history content love to show these images because they offer the appearance of scientific discovery. They often utilize a technique called reflectance transformation imaging, or RTI, which allows researchers to interactively relight an object to bring out its finest surface details. But in the hands of someone looking for a conspiracy, this tool becomes a weapon of distortion. When you take a high-resolution scan and push the specular enhancement or unsharp masking sliders to the maximum, you aren't just revealing details. You are artificially exaggerating the surface topography. You are essentially manufacturing evidence by turning natural microscopic surface variations into what look like sharp, precise machine tool marks. This is exactly how the legend of Petri's core #7 was blown out of proportion. For decades, alternative theorists have pointed to the spiral groove on this ancient drill core as evidence of an impossible feed rate that could only be achieved by a modern, industrial-grade drill. They claim the cut is too consistent and too deep for any handheld tool. When you actually look at the metrology under proper magnification, the mystery vanishes. The spiral groove is not a perfect, continuous path. It varies in depth between 0.000 and 0.005 inches and is filled with separate, erratic concentric scratches. These are the classic, unmistakable signatures of a manual bow drill. The drill was oscillating, the abrasive grit was shifting, and the operator was manually adjusting the pressure. It is not an industrial feed rate. It is the physical record of a human struggling to maintain control over a heavy, primitive tool. The difference becomes glaringly obvious when you compare these genuine ancient artifacts to modern fakes. If you examine a real pre-dynastic vessel from a museum collection, like those recovered from Nakata sites, you see the story of a manual process. The outer surface often shows good concentricity but poor circularity, because the artisan was rotating the vessel against a fixed grinding point. Conversely, the inner surface shows excellent circularity but poor concentricity, because they were hollowing it out with a handheld boring tool that wobbled as it went deeper. This dual, asymmetrical signature is the hallmark of a human craftsman. It is chaotic, irregular, and perfectly consistent with the tools we know they have. In contrast, the so-called precise vases sold on the private market exhibit a near-perfect circularity and concentricity on both surfaces. They possess a statistical uniformity that is indistinguishable from modern, lathe-machined work. These are not ancient relics. They are modern forgeries produced on high-end industrial equipment to satisfy a market that demands impossible precision. While the genuine artifacts are marked by chemical aging, micro-scratches, and the subtle imperfections of a lifelong guild professional, the fakes are pristine, unweathered, and mathematically perfect. The real tragedy is that we are using our most advanced digital tools to ignore the physical reality of the past. We are letting software settings dictate our history rather than trusting the actual, messy, human evidence preserved in the stone. By focusing on these digitally enhanced artificial patterns, we lose sight of the incredible, non-linear reality of ancient craftsmanship. A master stonemason didn't work like a computer program with fixed variables. They worked with a lifetime of muscle memory, adapting to the grain of the stone, the depletion of their abrasive sand, and the fatigue of their own body. When we misinterpret these microscopic wobbles as signs of a lost civilization, we aren't just looking at the data wrong, we are denying the human ingenuity that actually defined the ancient world. Challenges in replication experiments. The idea of ancient stone workers using nothing but sand and copper to create perfection is a hard sell for the modern mind. We look at a diorite vase with its high polish and clean lines and instinctively demand a machine as the only explanation. This skepticism often leads to a demand for proof, which is where experimental archaeology steps into the ring. But these experiments are not the clean, automated procedures people expect. They are brutal, exhausting tests of human limit, and the results are often far more humbling than the theory of ancient machinery would suggest. Take the project led by sculptor Olga Vidovina in collaboration with the scientists against Myth's team. They set out to replicate an ancient diorite vessel, a task that required 546 days of active labor spread across more than 2 years. It was a grueling cycle of grinding, drilling, and polishing that pushed the participants to their physical limits. This experiment didn't just highlight the difficulty of the work. It exposed a massive gap between the modern experimenter and the ancient master. When you look at the raw numbers, the exhaustion is clear. The team went through over 300 kilograms of sandstone for grinding, burned through 40 sacrificial hammerstones, and used over 100 maple drill shafts just to finish a 15-centimeter tall vessel. They faced constant material failure, with stones cracking midway through the process, forcing them to downscale their ambitions repeatedly. It is easy to look at these failures and conclude that ancient technology must have been better. But the truth is more nuanced. The limitation is not in the method, it is in the artisan. Ancient masonry was a hereditary guild profession. A master craftsman in the 4th dynasty did not start his day wondering if he could finish a bowl. He was the product of a lifetime of specialized day-in and day-out training. He possessed a level of muscle memory and an intuitive understanding of stone physics that we can barely simulate today. When a modern experimenter picks up a primitive tool, they're working at the very bottom of the capability curve. Their slow progress and geometric mistakes represent the absolute physical floor of basic human ability, not the ceiling of what a highly trained master could achieve over decades of specialized daily work. We are comparing a novice's first few attempts to the output of an entire civilization of experts who spent their lives mastering the resistance of diorite and granite. Replicating these ancient variables is a monumental challenge. We struggle to recreate the exact mineralogical purity of the Aswan quartz sand, the precise moisture levels of the lubricating slurry, and the mechanical tension of the bow drill strings that the Egyptians had refined over centuries. We are essentially trying to play a symphony after reading only a few notes of the sheet music. We also now know that these workers weren't using simple, soft copper. Archaeometallurgical studies of 4th Dynasty tool fragments revealed that they were using sophisticated arsenical copper, and in some cases, even adding species to control the arsenic and iron content. This work hardened the metal, creating blades and drills that were significantly tougher than the pure copper versions most replication teams use. The silence of the archaeological record regarding these technical recipes is often interpreted as proof of a missing high-tech secret. In reality, it reflects a society where knowledge was passed down through the bloodline and the guild, through hands-on apprenticeship, rather than written manuals. The fact that replication is so incredibly difficult does not prove that machines were required. It proves that the ancient Egyptians were far more capable, patient, and dedicated than our modern society can even comprehend. We are so detached from the reality of manual creation that we would rather imagine a lost empire of machines than admit that a group of skilled people could achieve such perfection with nothing but time, patience, and a bit of sand. The physical cost of creating art in the ancient world was not measured in clicks or cycles. It was measured in years of human life, a price the Egyptians were more than willing to pay. The role of technology in modern Egyptology. We are living in an era where technology is being used as both a scalpel and a sledgehammer. On one hand, you have the sensationalist noise of the internet, where chatbots are weaponized to fabricate historical breakthroughs. On the other, you have the silent, steady revolution happening inside academic archaeology, where legitimate artificial intelligence is doing what human eyes could never achieve alone. This is the difference between a high-traffic clickbait video and a genuine discovery. When we talk about AI in Egyptology, we have to distinguish between the hallucinated data of a conversational model and the rigorously trained neural networks that are actually rebuilding our understanding of the past. Take Google DeepMind's Ithaca project, for example. It is a deep neural sequence model that has achieved something nearly impossible. It can restore damaged ancient inscriptions with 62% accuracy and date them within a 30-year window. Or look at the ArchAid and ArchIScan projects, which are utilizing deep convolutional neural networks to classify and catalog thousands of fragmented pottery sherds in seconds, a task that would take human experts years of grueling manual labor. These systems are not guessing. They are trained on verified, peer-reviewed archaeological datasets. They don't invent new history. They uncover the patterns of the history we already have. Even the Herculaneum Papyri project is using multispectral bionic scanning and vision AI to read charred, fragile scrolls that have remained unreadable for 2 millennia. These projects are the true peak of technological advancement in archaeology, and they share a common goal: preserving the human story, not rewriting it with fiction. This stands in direct opposition to the Grok-style AI trends. The difference is the quality of the training data. The systems solving real archaeological problems are fed by experts and rooted in verified context. The models that spawn viral conspiracy theories are fed by the unchecked, unverified mess of the internet. They consume the same myths we have been debunking for years and output them as authoritative mathematical certainty. This is why media literacy is now the most important tool an amateur historian can possess. When you see a video claiming that an AI has discovered a secret power grid under the Great Pyramid, you are not looking at a breakthrough. You are looking at a machine designed to be a mirror, reflecting the biases and conspiracy theories of the people who interacted with it, packaged in a sleek digital frame that feels scientific because it uses words like temporal inversion and spatial variance. The tragedy of the lost technology myth is that it distracts us from the actual, staggering brilliance of the people who lived thousands of years ago. It is a form of historical elitism that suggests our ancestors could not have been that smart or that organized without help from something else. But the reality is far more compelling. The Egyptians didn't need machines to achieve greatness. They had the collective intelligence of guild-based professionals, a profound understanding of geology, and the raw grit to dedicate years to a single project. They were architects of an incredible civilization, and they built it with their own hands, their own ingenuity, and their own stubborn persistence. Choosing to believe in viral clickbait is easy. It feels mysterious and exciting to imagine a lost technological utopia buried beneath the desert. But that choice comes at the cost of the truth. When we value the rigor of scientific consensus, we aren't just protecting our history. We are honoring the reality of human achievement. We have to be better at spotting the difference between a tool that helps us see the past more clearly and a tool that is being used to distort it. If we want to understand what the ancient Egyptians were actually capable of, we need to stop looking for machines and start looking at the people. Because in the end, the most advanced, impossible, and impressive thing in the history of Egypt was the human being.